Past history, there is no history of diabetes, hypertension, tuberculosis, or epilepsy. No history of neurological diseases.
Wait, wait,
History
wait,
of
wait.
yes,
See,
ma'am.
she is a case of pelvic organ prolapse. So
Yes, ma'am.
what is the most important medical history you have to ask?
Ma'am, previous surgery, any
No, medical
surgery
disease. I
history.
am asking medical disease.
Mm,
What important medical history you have to ask?
mm,
Don't you ask for chronic obstructive pulmonary disease like bronchial asthma, wheezing, bronchitis?
bronchitis. Yes, ma'am.
Why you didn't tell that? That history is most important. You are
Okay,
supposed to
ma'am.
ask the history of bronchial asthma, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Then,
Okay, ma'am.
then,
Then there is history of puerperal sterilization. That is
no, one
tuberculosis
more
and
medical history is important. Whenever the patient has pelvic organ prolapse, what is that?
mm,
Don't you ask
mm,
for connective tissue disorders? No history of connective tissue disorders
okay,
like
ma'am.
Marfan syndrome, collagen disorders. These patients are more prone to get pelvic organ prolapse.
Okay, ma'am.
Tell me.
Then in past history, there is history of puerperal sterilization. Tuberculosis done after 7 days of the third childbirth. The family history, ma'am, there is no significant family history here.
What
That
family
is,
history you asked?
ma'am, if there is any previous like case of congenital prolapse in the family,
Not
congenital.
congenital prolapse. History of prolapse in any other siblings or mother or father's family. History of connective tissue disorder like Marfan syndrome. Okay, it
Okay,
runs in families. Pelvic organ prolapse runs in families. Then,
yes, ma'am. In the personal history, the patient consumes mixed diet. The bowel and bladder habits are normal. And then examination. General examination. Patient is conscious, oriented, moderately built and nourished. No pallor, no stress, no cyanosis, clubbing or pedal edema. No generalized lymphadenopathy. On breast examination is normal. Thyroid examination is normal, and spine examination is normal. Vitals. The pulse is 76 per minute. Respiratory rate is 15 per minute. BP is 120 by 90 mmHg. Temperature is afebrile.
so you
On
have to
systemic
say
exam.
about that BMI. That is very important. BMI
Okay.
of the patient is very important, which you have to tell in obstetric and gynec case history.
Okay, ma'am.
BMI is very, very important. Then,
Then on systemic examination, the respiratory system, normal vesicular breath sounds heard, no added sounds. Cardiovascular system, S1, S2 heard, no murmur. CNS, no focal neurological deficit. On abdomen examination, inspection, scaphoid abdomen, all quadrants move equally with respiration. The flanks are free. Unhealthy scar of 4 centimeter at the suprapubic region is seen. No sinus or
what
dilated
does it
veins.
indicate? What is that healthy score?
Ma'am, the scar is for puerperal sterilization, ma'am,
Okay,
which was
okay,
done after
okay.
delivery.
Right, all right.
Yes, ma'am. Palpation, on palpation, the abdomen is soft, not warm, not tender, or no organomegaly present. On percussion, there is no shifting dullness. Auscultation, bowel sounds are heard. Examination of the external genitalia. The external genitalia seems to be atrophic. Hair is sparse. Vagina, the rugosity is lost and dry and scaly. No ulceration or pigmentation. A pinkish globular mass of size 6 cross 4 centimeter lying outside the vulval outlet was seen. There is no old perineal tear.
Lying outside the vulva. Don't say vulval
Yes, ma'am.
outlet. 1 minute,
Okay,
Monica,
ma'am.
1 minute.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello? சொல்லு. ஆ, ஆ, ஆ. அப்படின்னா கூட இது 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 தெரியாம நீ எப்படி ட்ரீட் பண்ணுவ? மறக்கக்கூடாது. இப்போ எனக்கு வந்து இது மெசேஜ் போடு, என்ன நீ படிச்சது கரெக்டா நான் பார்க்கணும். இப்போ வந்து தேர்ட் ட்ரைமஸ்டர்ல 0.4 to 0.6 இல்லையா? சரி, இங்க வந்து 2.6 இருக்கு, அப்ப ஜாஸ்தி தானே இருக்கு. அதனால நீ வந்து இன்னைக்கு ஒரு டி டைமர் எடுத்துட்டு கத்தார் என்ன ஆஸ் யூஸ்வலா கண்டினியூ பண்ணு. 40 வீக்ஸ்ல வந்து இன்டியூஸ் பண்ணிக்கலாம். பேஷண்ட்டுக்கு பிரெத்லெஸ்னஸ் அதெல்லாம் எதுவும் இல்லை இல்ல. சரி, இன்னைக்கு ஒன்று ரிப்பீட் பண்ணு. ரைட், ஓகே. Proceed, Monica.
Yes, ma'am. The cervix is pigmented, no hypertrophy, edema or congestion.
See, you have
There
to
is no.
say, no, you have to say vulva. Vulval outletங்கிற வார்த்தை கிடையாது.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, a pinkish globular mass is seen in the outside the vulva. வா ஏதோ சொன்னேன், in the
Yes,
vulva.
ma'am.
Okay,
Outside the vulval outlet.
outside the vulva. Vulval
Okay.
outletலாம் கிடையாது. Outlet அப்படிலாம் சொல்லக்கூடாது. Outside the vulva. Okay,
Yes,
then.
ma'am. Then there is no old perineal tear. Cervix is pigmented, no hypertrophy, edema
All
or
other
congestion.
students are listening. All other students are listening.
No ulceration seen. On palpation, it is irreducible mass and fingers not able to get above
It is
fundus of the uterus.
irreducible. You are not
Yes,
able
ma'am.
to reduce the mass.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Ma'am, summary. Mrs. Indra, 56-year-old female belonging to the lower middle socioeconomic class, was multiparous, underwent 3 normal vaginal deliveries, comes with the history of mass descending per vagina for past 1 year. So the diagnosis is a case of uterovaginal prolapse of grade 3 for evaluation. Differential diagnosis can be a cervical cyst or polyp, Gartner's
Wait,
cyst.
wait.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
what are the causes for irreducible prolapse?
Ma'am, as she is a menopausal woman, ma'am, due to the atonicity of the ligaments and the muscles.
No.
There is.
Why the prolapse is not reducible? Usually, all the prolapse are reducible. Why it is in your case you are saying it is not reducible? So, what are the causes for irreducible prolapse?
The grade is 3.
No, first let me complete your examination. So, what are the causes for irreducible prolapse? Come down, go to the examination. PV, local examination.
Ma'am, specular exam.
No, you come to the
Actually,
PPT of local examination PPT. You come up, you go up.
Ma'am, I haven't done the examination.
No, you go to the previous slide, previous PPT of examination. Yes, stop it. See, suppose you have not done. So, suppose there
Yes,
is a irreducible mass. What is the cause for irreducibility? So, irreducible prolapse, whenever the cervix is hypertrophied, congested, edematous, long-standing prolapse, more than 3 months duration or more than 1 year duration, when there is a long-standing prolapse due to congested edematous cervix, it may be irreducible. Another thing is when there is a cervical cancer, the prolapse is irreducible. And another cause is when the uterus has fibroid uterus, then the prolapse is irreducible. When there is a pelvic tumor like ovarian tumor, sometimes the pelvic organ prolapse is irreducible. You understand? These are all the causes for irreducible pelvic organ prolapse. Suppose if you see a ulceration or pigmentation on the anterior or posterior vagina, what does it indicate?
Ma'am, it could be carcinoma.
Keratinization. First, tell me the common cause. So, keratinization indicates what?
Ma'am, the loss of the epithelium due to friction.
Not due to loss of epithelium, due to friction and due to friction. So, keratinization and ulceration occurs.
Pigment. Yes, ma'am.
Isn't it? Okay. Then you have mentioned fingers not able to get above the fundus of uterus. What does it indicate? Suppose if the fingers are able to get above the fundus of uterus, what does it indicate?
Ma'am, then it is procedentia, ma'am. The
Yeah, then
fundus,
it is
the
a
uterus.
passive procedentia where the fingers of both the hands may be able to touch each other. That is the complete prolapse. Okay. Then go down,
Okay.
go down, go down. Now you come to the diagnosis. See, you have
Uh,
written the diagnosis as in a stop. Diagnosis as uterovaginal prolapse of grade 3.
yes, ma'am.
Nowadays, according to International Continence Society, you have to classify the pelvic organ prolapse into stages, not degree. So don't say degree. You have to say stage 1 pelvic organ prolapse, stage 2 pelvic organ prolapse, stage 3 and stage 4. So that is
Okay,
called,
ma'am.
so what is that called? The staging is done by which system?
Ma'am, POP, the pelvic organ
That is
prolapse
called,
quantification.
very good, excellent. That is called POPQ, pelvic organ prolapse quantification system. So according to the
Yes,
pelvic
ma'am.
organ POPQ, your classification is it lies above the outside the vulva. So organ prolapse, you have to say 56-year-old female, multiparous, postmenopausal.
Hello, ma'am. Hello. Hello, ma'am. Ma'am, I'm not able to hear you, ma'am. There is some disturbance.
Monica,
Yes, ma'am. Now no, ma'am. There is some kind of disturbance, ma'am. I'm not able to hear you. Hello. No, it's not audible. Mm, it's not clear. Your voice is not clear.
now, Monica,
Yes, ma'am. Now it's audible, ma'am.
hmm?
Ma'am, it's audible, ma'am.
Is it audible now?
Monica, now
Yeah,
audible.
it's audible. It's audible
Now
now.
am I clear? Am I
Yes,
clear?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So, according to POPQ, you have to tell your diagnosis. So, you have to present it as 56-year-old female admitted with the complaints, 56 years old female, multiparous, postmenopausal, admitted with the complaints of mass descending per vaginum, whom on clinical examination revealed stage 3 pelvic organ prolapse for further evaluation and management. Like that, you have to summarize your history and examination. All
Okay, ma'am.
right, all right.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Now, so you have to say about the staging. Hmm? What is the staging? How will you stage? You know how to stage the pelvic organ prolapse?
Yes, ma'am. The reference is taken as the hymen at the level of
Very good.
hymen.
Very good.
When the lowest point of the prolapse is 1 centimeter above the hymen, it is the first degree or the
Pro-
first stage.
Proximal, more than 1 centimeter, proximal to hymen is the stage 1.
One,
Got the
yes,
point?
ma'am.
Tell me.
Yes,
Then,
ma'am. 1 centimeter both above and below the level of hymen, it is second
no, 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 no,
stage
no, no. Less
two.
than, no, 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 no. Less than 1 centimeter proximal to hymen, up to 1 centimeter distal to
Distal.
hymen is stage 2. Am I
Okay.
clear? More
Yes,
than
ma'am.
1 centimeter proximal to hymen is stage 1. Less than 1 centimeter proximal up to less than 1 centimeter distal to hymen is stage 2. All right.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Then stage 3,
The more than 1 centimeter
more
distal to
than
the
one
hymen.
centimeter distal to hymen. So stage 4 is complete
Ma'am, the
collapse.
total prolapse, complete
Total
prolapse of the
eventuation
uterus.
of the vagina. Okay. So this is
Yes.
how you have to classify the prolapse. Please don't say uterine prolapse, grade 3 prolapse. அப்படிலாம் பேசாதீங்க பரீட்சையில. You have to talk like a MMC student. So you have to present it as stage 3 pelvic organ prolapse. So it may be uterine prolapse associated with bladder prolapse, that is called cystocele, and when it is associated with the rectal prolapse, it is called rectocele. All right. So
Yes,
stage
ma'am.
3 pelvic organ prolapse in your case include descent of the uterus, prolapse of the bladder, and prolapse of the rectum. And sometimes there may be a isolated prolapse of bladder alone, that is called isolated cystocele, or there may be a prolapse of rectum, then it is called isolated rectocele. In such cases you have to present it as stage 3 isolated cystocele, stage 3 isolated rectocele. Sometimes you may see only the uterine prolapse and there is no associated cystocele or rectocele. In such cases, you have to say stage 3 uterine prolapse. Only the cervix is prolapsed. Like that, you have to present. Okay? Okay.
Okay,
How,
ma'am.
how will you investigate the patient?
And the investigation include routine urine investigation, culture and sensitivity. Then,
Why do you want to do culture and sensitivity?
ma'am, to see if there is any urinary tract infection.
Why urinary infection? The urinary tract infection is more common in patients with pelvic organ prolapse.
Ma'am, because if it is accompanied by cystocele or erythrocele,
Why,
there is
why, why,
retention.
why cystocele? Why do you cystocele causes recurrent urinary tract infection?
Uh, Ma'am, due to the incontinence.
No, because the bladder is outside. Because the bladder neck is below the level of urethra. So there is always
Uh,
incomplete emptying of the bladder. So the stasis
yes,
of
ma'am.
urine, because of incomplete emptying of urine, there is always a stasis in the bladder, which leads to urinary tract infection. So you are doing urine for culture and sensitivity.
Yes, ma'am.
Then
Ma'am, that complete blood count, including hemoglobin and leukocyte
yeah,
count.
okay.
Then blood sugar, urea, serum creatinine,
Uh,
ultrasound abdomen and pelvis,
uh,
then intravenous pyelogram,
Ultrasound
pap
abdomen,
smear.
what do you want to look for in ultrasound abdomen? Rather, ultrasound abdomen, you can specifically say ultrasound KUB and pelvis. Why do you want to look for KUB? KUB is kidney, ureter, and bladder. Why do you want to look for KUB?
Uh,
What happens
ma'am,
to kidney when there is a uterine prolapse, pelvic organ prolapse?
ma'am, it may descend due to the traction.
Which will descend?
Hmm. Kidney, ma'am.
How can a kidney can descend when there is a pelvic organ prolapse? How can a kidney can descend? Because of pelvic organ prolapse, because of the kinking of the ureter, because of the stasis of urine due to cystocele, there is always backflow of the urine, which causes hydroureteronephrosis. So you have to say, I want to see hydroureteronephrosis due to the chronic downward displacement of the bladder. That is why the kidney, ureter, bladder are very important. Don't say descent of the kidney.
Okay.
Just think and answer. So because of
Yes.
the cystocele, there is incomplete emptying of the urine and compression of the traction of the ureter, backflow of the urine, which causes hydroureteronephrosis. Sometimes in long-standing prolapse, you can even see bladder stones. So ultrasound KUB is done to look for the status of the kidney like hydroureteronephrosis and stone in the bladder. And then pelvis is done to rule out any fibroid uterus or ovarian mass associated with pelvic organ prolapse. So you have to specifically tell the reason why do you want to do ultrasound KUB and pelvis. All right, then.
Okay. And then pap smear and cervical
No,
biopsy
no,
to
no.
rule out any carcinoma.
Why do you want to do intravenous pyelogram? Pyelogram spelling is not correct. Nowadays it is called intravenous urography, IVU, not intravenous pyelogram.
Oh, okay.
Why do you want to do intravenous urogram and what are the indications for IVU?
Um,
In all cases of prolapse, you will do intravenous urogram or only in specific cases you want to do intravenous urogram. You have to
Ma'am,
do
when it,
intravenous urogram when the prolapse is when the size of the uterus is more than 12 weeks or in long standing pelvic organ prolapse. In two conditions, you have to do intravenous urogram when there is a huge hydroureteronephrosis. These are all the indications where intravenous urogram is needed. Nowadays, it is done with CECT reconstructive urogram, contrast enhanced CTKUB with reconstructive urogram, which will show the functional status of the kidney and obstruction of the ureter or the dilatation of the ureter. Then, then proceed.
and then pap smear and cervical biopsy to rule
Yeah,
out any
pap smear is a
carcinoma.
must in all cases, but cervical biopsy is done only when there is associated ulcer in the cervix. Okay. Then,
Okay. Ma'am, that's all, ma'am, the investigation.
then
And
management.
from management, as she is a multigravida and not desiring for any future
You don't
child
say
was born,
multigravida. Don't say multigravida, multiparous.
multiparous. Okay,
Since she
sorry.
is 59 years old, multiparous, postmenopausal, with stage 3 pelvic organ prolapse, what is your management?
Ma'am, vaginal hysterectomy. I
What is the
prefer
name
one.
of the vaginal hysterectomy?
Mhm.
You have to tell because in the examination you will be asked what is the type, what is the name of the vaginal hysterectomy you will do for pelvic organ prolapse.
Mhm. Okay,
Ward
ma'am.
Mayo's, Ward Mayo's vaginal hysterectomy, and your answer should be complete. Don't simply say vaginal hysterectomy.
Yes, ma'am.
Ward Mayo's vaginal hysterectomy and pelvic floor repair. The pelvic floor repair includes cystocele anterior colporaphy and posterior
Posterior
colpoperineoraphy.
perineopathy.
So your
Yes, ma'am.
answer should be Ward Mayo's vaginal hysterectomy with anterior colporaphy and posterior colpoperineoraphy. This should be your
Okay.
answer. Now let me quickly take you, all of you, to the review of pelvic organ prolapse, PPT. Now let me take you to the PPT of pelvic organ prolapse. Monica, is it all right?
Yes, ma'am.
Any final year?
ஆமாம்
Anatomy. Are you able to see the slides? Monica,
Yes, ma'am. I'm able.
first let me see the anatomy of the pelvic floor. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So the pelvic floor, it consists of bony pelvis with lot of ligaments. So this is the bony pelvis, and the pelvis is important. This is the sacrum. Okay, this is the sacrum, coccyx, ilium, ischium, and this is the pubic bone. And this is the obturator foramen, and this is the pubic symphysis. So this bone is very important to know the etiopathogenesis of pelvic organ prolapse. So the pelvic ligaments are, see, this is the anterior sacral ligament of the anterior sacral ligament. That is the anterior longitudinal ligament of the sacrum. Longitudinal ligament runs from the, and when it covers over the sacrum, then it is called anterior. And this is the sacrospinous ligament, which extends from the ischial spine to the sacrum. And this is the sacrotuberous ligament, which extends from the sacrum to the ischial tuberosity. And these ligaments support the bony pelvis and pelvic organs. So these are the posterior, this is the posterior view of the pelvis with sacroiliac ligament and sacrospinous ligament and sacrotuberous ligament. So see, you can see pelvis forms a basin. It contains a lot of pelvic floor muscles. So posteriorly it is formed by piriformis, and laterally it is formed by obturator internus. See, this is the coccyx, pubic symphysis, and this is the urethra, vagina, rectum. All right. So this is the pubococcygeus muscle. This is pubococcygeus muscle, and these are all the components of levator ani. So this is the iliococcygeus muscle, and then this is the ischio-coccygeus muscle. So pelvic floor is again formed by the pelvic diaphragm and the perineal membrane and perineal body. The perineal body extends from the fossa to the medianus. So what are the component of the facial component? The pelvis contains endopelvic fascia, which is divided into the parietal fascia and visceral fascia. The parietal fascia covers obturator fascia, levator ani, coccygeus, and piriformis. The visceral fascia covers the uterus, vagina, bladder, and rectum. So the endopelvic fascia is again divided into connective tissue, which covers the parametrium. So this picture is very important because this represents, this is the coccyx and this is the pubis, and this is a hammock-like structure. This is the hammocks between the pubis and the coccyx, and is attached to the orcus tendinous levator ani. So when this muscles gets weakened, when there is a myopathy following the difficult delivery in previous labors, when there is a neuropathy, what happens to the hammock? The hammock begins to sag, and so it causes the levator plate to sag down, and it causes the genital hiatus to become patulous and allowing the pelvic organs to prolapse. So the levator ani, these are the components of levator ani, which I have already told you. This is the pubococcygeus and this is the puborectalis, which encircle the rectum is called the medial most fibers or puborectalis, and this is the pubococcygeus. And again I will show you, this is the puborectalis, which I have told the puborectalis arise from the pubis. It encircles the rectum in a form of U-shaped and inserted into the opposite side of the pubis. This is called puborectalis, and which I have told you, this is the, so the puborectalis muscle is very important for maintaining the anal continence. And this is the pubococcygeus. The lateral most fiber is the pubococcygeus, which arises from the pubis, encircles the coccyx and again attached to the pubis, and this is the pubococcygeus, and this keeps the urogenital hiatus. The normal diameter of the urogenital hiatus is 4 to 5 centimeter. So pubococcygeus is responsible for maintaining the 4 centimeter length of the urogenital height. And then this is the ileococcyges. So these are the components of levator ana. Ileococcyges arising from the ileum to the coccyx. Ileococcyges, pubococcyx, puborectalis are the components of levator ana. And now these are the coccygeus muscle. See, you can see the coccygeus muscle, and this is the posterior part of the pelvic floor. So it arises from the ischial spine to the lower part of the sacrum and coccyx. This is called this coccygeus muscle, over which lies the sacropinous ligament. So what happens to the pelvic floor muscles in case of pelvic organ collapse? So whenever there is increased intra-abdominal pressure like coughing, sneezing, or lifting heavy weight, the pelvic floor muscles, which are puborectalis, pubococcygeus, and ileococcygeus, they contract and maintain the continence. The puborectalis maintain the anal continence. The pubococcygeus maintain the urogenital hiatus to narrow. And then, so when there is a damage to the muscles following the difficult delivery, then that causes the pelvic organ collapse. So what is white line of the pubis? This is very important, and the white line of the pubis runs from the pubic tubercle to the ischial spine. This is called arcus tendinous fascia pelvis, which gives origin to the part of the levator ani muscles. So this is the arcus tendinous fascia pelvis, where the pubovesical fascia, pubocervical fascia, or vesicovaginal fascia. The pubocervical ligament is the passive support of the bladder, which is attached to the which is laterally it is attached to the arcus tendinous fascia pelvis. So arcus tendinous fascia pelvis, as I have already told you, it arises from the pubic arch to the ischial spine, and it provides a lateral support to the mid vagina. And here you can see the pubocervical fascia. This is the pubocervical fascia, and this is the arcus tendinous fascia pelvis. So the lateral border of the pubocervical ligament is attached to the arcus tendinous fascia pelvis, and posteriorly the arcus tendinous fascio-rectovaginalis. It extends from the ischial spine to the lateral border of the perineal body. And this is the rectovaginal fascia, and this picture is very important. So what is called the perineal membrane? And the perineal membrane is nothing but this is the endopelvic fascia, which covers which surrounds the urethra and vaginal orifice. And here you can see the rectum, and this is the puborectalis, and this is the levator ani muscles. And this is the perineal body. The perineal body extends from the posterior hymen to the mid-anus, and it is formed laterally by the pair of superficial transverse perineae, the bulbospongiosus muscle. Can you see? This is the bulbospongiosus muscle and the external anal sphincter. So the normal length of the perineal body is 3 centimeter. So you have to remember this picture. It is formed by the pair of superficial transverse perineae laterally, anteriorly by the bulbospongiosus, and posteriorly by the mid-anal sphincter. Now coming to the support of the uterus is supported by the muscular support and connective tissue support. The muscular support are the pelvic diaphragm, perineal membrane, and perineal body. Connective tissue support, cardinal ligaments, uterosacral ligament, round ligaments, and pubocervical ligament. The uterine axis is maintained by the anteversion, which is maintained by the uterosacral ligament and round ligaments. Huh? See, you can see the cardinal ligament. The cardinal ligament. Monica, are you able to hear me? Monica?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Are you listening? Are you listening?
Yes, ma'am.
My slides are visible?
Yes, ma'am. They are visible, ma'am.
So the cardinal ligament, it provides the lateral attachment of the cervix to the pelvic wall. This is the cardinal ligament, and this stabilizes the cervix. This is also called McEnroth's ligament. And then uterosacral ligament, it posteriorly attaches the uterus to the posterior part of the sacrum, and this is very important for the apical support. It fixes the cervix to S2, S3 and S4. So round ligament is only the passive support. Now this picture is very important because this is the pericervical ring. I am going to show you. This is the cervix. So the cervix is stabilized by the caudinal ligament laterally, the uterosacral ligament posteriorly, and anteriorly by the pubocervical ligament. So this is called pericervical ring. This structure is very important because this prevents the prolapse of the apex, which is the apex cervix, and this surrounding parametrium. So whenever you do hysterectomy, you remember that this pericervical ring is restored after the hysterectomy. So this is the broad ligament which extends from the side of the uterus, to the lateral pelvic wall, and the secondary supports are the trapezoid attachment of the bladder and Denon-Willers's fascia posteriorly. And this is the other picture showing the pericervical ring, which is formed anteriorly by the pubocervical ligament, laterally by the caudinal ligament, and posteriorly by the uterosacral ligament. And this is the collar of the connective tissue surrounding the cervix, which causes the cervical stabilization. So according to D. Lancis, there are 3 levels of vaginal support. The level 1, this is the level 1 support, which is provided by the uterosacral ligament and the parametrium, part of parametrium. So whenever there is a defect in level 1 support, that causes uterine prolapse, or when there is no uterus, it causes vault prolapse and enterocele. The level 2 is the mid-vaginal support anteriorly and posteriorly, and mid-vagina is H-shaped. So the mid-vagina anteriorly, it is supported by the pubocervical ligament, which attaches the vagina laterally to the arcus tendinous fascia pelvis. And posteriorly, the mid-vagina is supported by the arcus tendinous fascio-rectovaginalis, which I have shown in the previous picture. And this is the level 3 support, and the level 3 is the fusion axis. Level 3, anteriorly it is the urethra. The urethra fuses in the anterior vaginal wall, and it is supported by the pubourethral ligament. And posteriorly the perineal body, which fuses with the perineal membrane. So level 1, it is called the suspensory axis. So whenever there is a defect of the parametrium and paracolpium, it causes uterine descent, and so it causes uterovaginal prolapse, vault prolapse, and enterocele. And level 2 is the mid-vaginal support, which I have told you it is a H-shaped. Can you see? It is a H-shaped mid-vagina. So it causes cystocele anteriorly and rectocele posteriorly. And level 3 is the fusion defect. It is a fusion axis. So anteriorly, when there is a defect in the urethral support, it causes a stress urinary incontinence. And when there is a defect in the perineal body, it causes absence of the perineal body or hypermobility of the perineum. So this is the level 3 defect. So here you can compare the ligaments or support of the uterus to the rope of the ship. See, the ship is held in the sea with the moor. The moor is tied to the wooden rod. So when the moor is very lax or the ship will sink. See, the ship will sink. Similarly, when I shown you the hammock diaphragm. So when the ligaments are laxed between the pubic symphysis and the coccyx will break, and so it allows all the pelvic organs to prolapse, thereby resulting in the pelvic organ prolapse. Now let me go to the etiologies of pelvic organ prolapse. So So what else? There are definite factors, probable factors, and hypothesized factors. Definite factors are age and multiparity, and there is a 100% increased risk for each decade of life. So the incidence doubled with each decade. You can see there is an increased incidence of pelvic organ prolapse in the age of 70 to 80 years. So parity, whenever there is increased parity, the patients are more prone for pelvic organ prolapse. So what are the probable risk factors when there is a family history, when there is multiparous obstetric history like prolonged second stage of labor, um, no episiotomy or improper suturing of the episiotomy, increased abdominal pressure, developmental features like Marfan syndrome, previous hysterectomy, they all contribute to the probable factors. So what are the hypothesized factors? Young age at first delivery, say 16 years at first delivery, and young age at first pregnancy, and then SERMs. So the potential risk factors for pelvic organ prolapse are the white people are more prone to get pelvic organ prolapse than African American women. And pregnancy and delivery and hysterectomy, myopathy and neuropathy are more risk factors. Obesity, smoking, chronic coughing, constipation can promote pelvic organ prolapse. The decompensatory factors like aging, menopause, neuropathy, myopathy, debilitation can lead to pelvic organ prolapse. So coming to the etiology, menopause, vaginal delivery, increased intra-abdominal pressure, connective tissue disorders. So what happens in the menopause? There is hypoestrogenism. So because of hypoestrogenism, there is a degenerative process which causes asthenia and atonicity of the ligament. So the atonicity of the ligament causes decreased muscle tone and thereby prolapse uterus. So delivery, home delivery, where there is no, in home delivery, there is no proper pelvic perineal support during delivery of the baby, and there is a traumatic delivery. 1 minute, Monica. Hello? 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 சரி, நீங்க அங்க போய் டாக்டர் தீப பிரியான்னு இருப்பாங்க. டாக்டர் தீப பிரியா ஓபியில போய் கேட்டு பாருமா. அங்க போ, நான் அவங்க கிட்ட விவரம் சொல்லியிருக்கிறேன், அவங்க பாப்பாங்க. டாக்டர் தீப பிரியா எங்க இருக்காங்கன்னு கேட்டு போங்க. சீஃப் டாக்டர் வீட்ல இருந்து வந்திருக்கேன்னு சொல்லிட்டு போ. பிரியா, நான் வந்து என்னுடைய மெய்டு பெண்ணரசின்னு ஒருத்தங்களை வந்து உங்களை பார்க்க சொல்லியிருக்கேன். எங்கள் வீட்டில் வேலை செய்கிற பொண்ணு. அதுக்கு ஃபஸ்ட்டு ஸ்கேன் எழுதி கொடுத்துருங்க. நான் வந்து பிவி பண்ணி அதுக்கு வந்து ஏயுபி இருக்குது, அது ஹிஸ்டெக்டமி பண்ணுற மாதிரி இருக்குது. நான் வந்து பார்க்குறேன். நான் ஹிஸ்ட்ரி எழுதி ஸ்கேன் மட்டும் பண்ணிவிட்டு உட்கார வைங்க, நான் வந்துடுறேன். ஓகே, தேங்க்யூ. So when there is a traumatic delivery and when there is a delivery of a big baby, more than 4.5 kg, when there is a difficult forceps delivery, all these lead to pelvic organ prolapse. And whenever there is a increased intra-abdominal pressure like obesity, chronic constipation, prolonged heavy lifting can also cause pelvic organ prolapse. Connective tissue disorder to note, Monica, you have to tell in the history, like Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and Marfan syndrome. So what is the pathophysiology? The combined neurological damage, muscular damage, and connective tissue damage lead to pelvic organ prolapse. And how do you classify pelvic organ prolapse? It is classified with pelvic organ prolapse quantification system, which is the gold standard. Baden-Coffey-Walker system was used previously. The POPQ is defined by ICS in 1996. It contains a series of site-specific measurements in the pelvic organ support, and prolapse in each segment is measured relative to the hymen. So this is the diagrammatic representation of the POPQ for staging pelvic. Hello? எங்க இருப்பாங்கன்னு தெரியாதுமா, நீ அவங்க வெளியில கேட்டுமா, நர்ஸ்கிட்ட கேளுமா, அவங்க எந்த ரூம்ல இருப்பாங்கன்னு எனக்கு தெரியாது. தீப பிரியா. தீபப்பிரியா எந்த ரூம்ல இருக்காங்க நர்ஸ்கிட்ட கேட்டுப்போ. டாக்டர் சீதாலட்சுமி வீட்டுல வேலை செய்யறேன்னு and this is the POPQ grid, so that you can make 3 points in the anterior compartment. Total vaginal length. So as I have already told, stage 1 no prolapse, stage 0 no prolapse, stage 1 the most distal portion of the prolapse is more than 1 centimeter above the level of the hymen. Stage 2 is the most distal portion of the prolapse is less than 1 centimeter proximal or distal to the hymen. Stage 3, when the prolapse is more than 1 centimeter distal to the plane of the hymen, but no further than 2 centimeter less than the total vaginal length. And stage 4 is the complete eversion of the vagina. So the Baden halfway walker system is not used, and I am not going into the details. Now we will go to the investigation of the pelvic organ prolapse. Pelvic organ prolapse. So the evaluation of the pelvic organ prolapse include, which Monica told, the urine routine analysis, culture sensitivity. So clinical feature diagnosis, investigations and differential diagnosis. So symptoms you have to ask, I have told prolapse, bladder, bowel, sexual symptoms. Monica, you have to present only in this way in the examination also.
Okay.
Understand?
Yes.
And prolapse symptom you have to mention mass descending per vaginum and bulge in the vagina or at introitus, whether there is a pelvic or vaginal pressure, heaviness in the pelvis or vagina. So bladder symptom you have to ask for urgency, frequency, incomplete emptying, dribbling, hesitancy and stress incontinence. And bowel symptoms you have to ask for incomplete emptying. It is outlet type constipation, manual decompression to facilitate defecation, and whether there is a incontinence of the flatus, and whether there is urgency to defecate, whether there is obstruction. So sexual problems include looseness and lack of sensation, difficult entry and expulsion, discomfort or painful intercourse, and low back pain, pain in the vagina, bladder, rectum and pelvic pain are very important. The other symptoms include white discharge, history of itching vulva, pigmentation or any bleeding per vagina. So diagnosis include history taking, general examination, pelvic examination and neurological examination. History taking, you have to include menopause, number and spacing of the children, home or institutional delivery, duration of second stage of labor, weight of the baby more than 4.5 kg, early resumption of postpartum activities, past history of tuberculosis and asthma. Success seems to be largely a matter of hanging on after others have let go. So what is the pelvic examination? That includes gynecological and neurological examination. So this is the dorsal position you have to examine the patient. So first you inspect the external genitalia, then do the bimanual examination, perineal body integrity and then sim speculum. Look for vaginal mucosa, ask the patient to do Valsalva maneuver and do rectovaginal examination and look for Dowdell sign. Heel will see in the perineal area, and then look for anterior vaginal wall and vaginal apex for any ulceration, hyperpigmentation, and then lateral paravaginal defect should be seen. Sometimes when there is a difficulty in diagnosing the prolapse on supine position, you can ask the patient to stand and then you have to look for pelvic organ prolapse. See, and whenever you have patient has a history of stress urinary incontinence, you can ask the patient to stand on a towel, then ask the patient to cough, look for leakage of urine. This is the looking for stress urinary incontinence. So do the bimanual examination to assess the size of the uterus and position of the uterus. See, you can see here. size of the uterus and position of the uterus. And then in anterior vaginal wall prolapse, you put a speculum posteriorly and ask the patient to do Valsalva maneuver and look for the anterior vaginal wall prolapse, which is the cystocele. So this is the cystocele. You can see the cystocele, and this is the lesion point of the prolapse is within 1 centimeter distal to Cayman, and so I would say it is a stage 2 pelvic organ prolapse, which includes apical prolapse, anterior vaginal wall prolapse, which is a cystocele. So this is the complete procedentia where the cervix is covered with the scaly dry skin. Okay, this is the long-standing prolapse. And when there is a rectocele, you put the sim speculum anteriorly and look for the bulge in the posterior vaginal wall, and this is the rectocele. So this is the double hump sign. See where you can see both cystocele and rectocele. Only the cystocele and rectocele. So it looks like a double hump sign. There is no prolapse of the uterus. Only there is a prolapse of bladder and rectum. So this is the vault prolapse where you can see the vault. See, this is the vaginal vault, and this is the cystocele, and this is the rectocele. This is the vault prolapse. And neurological examination is a must because neuropathy is also associated with pelvic organ prolapse. So you have to assess the strength of the pelvic floor muscles, and anal sphincteric resting tone should be assessed. And ask the patient to voluntarily contract the anus, perineal sensation, and look for sacral reflexes. So investigations, as Monica told you, how to do the complete blood count, urine culture and sensitivity, ultrasound, KUB and pelvis. See, this is the kidney where here it is a normal kidney. And then IVU, Monica, you have told the intravenous urogram. So the intravenous urogram will give you the picture of functional status of the kidney, and then course of the ureter or obstruction in the ureter, and then bladder. This is called the intravenous urogram. And do colposcopy where it is needed, and vaginal swab, pap smear is needed. And then this is a cystoscopy. Cystoscopy is done in case of pelvic organ prolapse when you suspect bladder stones on ultrasound. So what are the differential diagnoses? It may be a vulval tumor, cervical polyp, anterior vaginal wall cyst or Gardner cyst, urethral diverticula, or chronic inversion of the uterus. So these are all the differential diagnoses. So this is the urethral diverticulum, and this is the Gardner cyst, and this is the chronic inversion of uterus. So let me say the management of pelvic organ prolapse. So what is the management? So you have two type of management. So medical management and cervical management. So the medical management includes the when there are so what is the problem? It is like a boat in the dog analogy. So pelvic organs are compared to the boat, levator muscles are compared to water, endopelvic facial ligaments are moorings. So when there are problem, the ship will sink in the sea, what I have already told you. So what is the treatment options? Conservative and surgical management. So the choice of treatment depend upon the age of the patient, desire to conserve the uterus, menstrual function, general condition of the patient, and staging of not degree, staging of pelvic organ prolapse. So you can't go and do surgery for all patients with pelvic organ prolapse. The surgery is indicated only for stage 3 and stage 4 pelvic organ prolapse. Suppose when the patient has a stage 1 and 2 pelvic organ prolapse, they can be managed conservatively with Kegel exercise. The Kegel exercises are that improve the tone in the pubococcygeus and other pelvic floor muscles, and this is alternate contraction and relaxation of the pelvic floor. This needs special care of the physician to check whether the patient is doing the Kegel exercise correctly. And this is 10 times for a count of 10 for 10 minutes in the morning, 3 times, 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the evening, and 10 minutes in the night. So it is a 30 minutes every day. So before Kegel exercise, you can see the weak pelvic floor muscle, and after you can see the strong pelvic floor muscles. And so the Kegel exercise, it is assessed by biofeedback system. You have to assess whether the patients are doing correctly or not. And other conservative management are barbells, springs, and rubber balls. And pessaries are the important mainstay in the conservative management of the pelvic organ prolapse. The pessaries are indicated in patients waiting for surgery, the patients who are pregnant, who wants to have a definitive treatment after delivery of the child, and these only stage 2 prolapse, these cases pessaries are offered. So the type of the pessaries are ring pessaries, Gellhorn pessaries, and Lever's pessaries, donut pessaries. Usually the ring pessary and Gellhorn pessaries are used. So the advantages of the pessaries are they are non-invasive, indicated in elderly patients who are not fit for surgery and pregnant women with prolapse, and it may also treat urinary incontinence to some extent. So what are the disadvantages? It has to be removed by physician once in every 3 months, and there is more risk for vaginal ulceration and fistula formation. The routine pelvic exam and topical estrogen cream is mandatory. So what is the aim of surgical management? The aim is to relieve the symptoms of pelvic organ prolapse like prolapse symptoms, urinary symptom, bowel symptoms, sexual symptoms, and to restore the anatomy and sexual function. And the approaches are either you can do vaginal hysterectomy or laparoscopic hysterectomy or abdominal hysterectomy. The site-specific repair is only one when only there is an isolated cystocele or rectocele, you have to do only the site-specific repair. For isolated cystocele, don't do hysterectomy. It is enough if you repair the anterior facial repair by anterior colporaphy. If there is isolated rectocele, don't go and do the hysterectomy. You do only the posterior facial repair or posterior colpoperineorrhaphy. That is called posterior facial repair, perineoplasty, and perineal body reconstruction. What is apical compartment defect? So the apex is always formed by the cervix and vaginal vault. So what are the treatment to fix the apex after your hysterectomy? So the restorative procedures are either you can fix the apex of the vaginal vault to the uterosacral ligament, iliococcygeus ligament, or sacrospinous ligament. That is called after hysterectomy, fixing the vaginal vault to these ligaments are called apical suspension procedures. Suppose if the patient is elderly and she is not fit for extensive vaginal hysterectomy and reconstructive procedures, in such cases you can go for obliterative procedures like colpoclysis. So this is the anterior facial repair where the vertical insertion is made in the anterior vaginal wall. The bladder was mobilized from the vaginal epithelium and the pubocervical fascia is plicated in the midline, and then vagina is closed, and this is called anterior colporaphy. In paravaginal repair, the pubocervical ligament is fixed to the white line of the pubis. This is the paravaginal defect. This is the pubocervical ligament, and this is fixed to the white line of the pubis by multiple absorbable sutures. So in the posterior facial repair or posterior colporaphy, similarly the vertical the posterior fascia gives strength to the underlying rectum and the vagina is closed, and this is called the posterior colporaphy and colpoperineorrhaphy. So coming to the restorative procedures for apical defect, always use the native support to anchor the vaginal vault like uterosacral ligament. Here the vaginal vault is anchored to the uterosacral ligament, or you can anchor the vaginal cuff to the anterior sacral ligament, some kind of mesh. And this is the anchoring of the vaginal wall to the sacrospinous ligament, which extends from the ischial spine to the sacrum. And you can also fix the vaginal wall to the iliococcygeus muscle. And as I have already told, you can fix the vaginal wall to the anterior sacral ligament by a piece of a Y-shaped polysynthetic mesh. That is monofilament, macroporous, synthetic mesh. And then the obliterative procedures are closure of the vaginal lumen, and the procedure is called colpoclysis. This is partial or leaf-out colpoplysis where the uterus is preserved, which is indicated in early menopausal patient who have medical risk factors and unfit for surgery, and total colpoplysis, removal of the uterus and then closure of the vaginal epithelium. So in leaf-out operation, rectangular insertion is made both in the anterior and posterior vagina, and the pubocervical fascia and the rectovaginal fascia are approximated serially, and thereby anterior and posterior vaginal wall were closed. And this is called total colpoplysis. And the following are the operations when the patient wants to preserve the uterus, like Manchester operation or Fothergill operation, where the cervix is amputated and the newly formed cervix is fixed. The uterosacral ligament is approximated over the newly formed cervix. And then the advantages are preservation of menstrual and childbearing function. Limitations, it has impaired fertility, incompetent cervical loss, cervical dystocia or stenosis. And Shirodkar operation, the no amputation of the cervix is done and the cervix is fixed to the anterior abdominal wall. And sling operations, there are so many operations which are not followed nowadays, so I'm not into the depth. And so Ward Mayo's vaginal hysterectomy with the pelvic floor repair, which includes anterior colporaphy and posterior colpoperineoraphy in women more than 40 years who completed their families, and a women more than 35 years with added menstrual abnormalities like fibroid and adenomyosis. And the steps of vaginal hysterectomy are: make an insertion, a circular insertion around the cervix, mobilize the bladder, open the POD, and then do hysterectomy by cutting, clamping, and ligating the uterosacral ligament, rod ligament with the uterine vessels, and infundibulopelvic ligament. And then after hysterectomy, you do the anterior colporaphy and posterior colpoperineoraphy, which I have already told you. So how will you prevent the pelvic organ prolapse? Antenatally, adequate attention to weight gain, relaxation, relax, and stress limitations. Don't take everything as a stress. Relax. Make your environment stress-free. And intranatally, you have to supervise the second stage of labor and supervised episiotomy with proper suture techniques. And postnatally, you have to do the physiotherapy and early ambulation, and ask the patient to avoid strenuous work immediately after delivery, and effective family planning with the spacing. And so, this is how the review of the pelvic organ prolapse. And if any doubt, I'm happy to answer your questions, Monica. I think I have elaborately completed the pelvic organ prolapse. Any doubt, Monica? Monica,
No, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
it's well understood.
Yes, ma'am.